Welcome, everyone, to Truth and Freedom Podcast, where awakening begins with asking the question most people are afraid to ask. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Amzallag, and this is not just another podcast. This is a journey into awareness, courage, and truth. Now, in today's monologue, I want to talk about something many of us quietly wrestle with. It is the need to control everything. Now, we plan, we predict, we micromanage. We want to know how every story will end before we even take the first step. Now, because somewhere deep down, we've told ourselves that control equals safety, that if we can just manage every variable, no one will hurt us, nothing will surprise us, and life will finally make sense. But the truth is, control is just another mask of fear. We cling to it because uncertainty feels unbearable. Yet life, in its truest, most beautiful form, was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced. Now, letting go of control isn't about giving up. It's about loosening the grip on what was never truly ours to hold. It's about understanding that peace doesn't come from predicting every outcome. It comes from trusting that you'll handle whatever happens next. Now, you see, control is rooted in mistrust. Mistrust of people, mistrust of timing, mistrust of yourself. It is the fear that if you don't oversee every detail, everything will fall apart. But what if things are meant to fall apart sometimes? Not just to punish you, but to make room for what's next. When you stop trying to control life, you make space for life to surprise you. You open doors that forces you that can never be unlocked. Doors are of opportunities, of connection, and of healing. Now think about it. How many times have you tried to plan your path perfectly, only for life to reroute you somewhere better? At first, it feels like chaos. Then, with time, you realize it was guidance. The relationship that ended wasn't rejection. It was redirection. The job you lost wasn't failure. It was freedom in disguise. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment, all of it shaped you in ways control never could. When you trust the process, you don't need to know how everything will work out. You just trust that it will. You let faith take the place of fear. But I get it. Letting go is hard, especially when your control came from survival. When life once taught you that if you didn't manage everything, everything will collapse. That's not just behavior. That's protection. And that deserves compassion, not judgment. But here's what healing looks like. It's learning that you no longer need to live in constant defense mode. It's realizing that surrender doesn't mean weakness. It means trust. Trust in your ability to adapt. Trust in your unfolding of time. Trust in something bigger than your plans. So when you loosen your grip, you start to breathe again. You start noticing small joys instead of controlling big outcomes. You begin to live, not perform. Control may feel like safety, but it's also confinement. It keeps you in your head, calculating, protecting, expecting. Letting go brings you back to your heart, feeling, flowing, allowing. Now, you can't predict every twist in your story, but you can choose how you show up for each chapter of your life. That's where real power lies. Now, here's a paradox. The more you release control, the more life aligns with you. Because when you stop forcing, you start flowing. And flow is where truth lives. Now, you begin to see that life doesn't need your control. It needs your presence. That's your path that doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be authentic. And that your role is in it to shape every outcome, but to stay open to what's meant for you. So if you find yourself clinging tightly to people, plans, or outcomes, pause for that moment and ask yourself, what am I so afraid of losing? And then afterwards, you ask yourself again, what if letting go doesn't mean losing, but receiving? Now, the truth is, you can't move forward with clenched fist. You have to let go to take the next step. You have to trust that uncertainty that feels so uncomfortable, because that's where new life begins. Everything you've ever outgrown once felt safe. Everything you've meant to become will first feel uncertain. But that's not a sign you've lost. It's a sign you're evolving. Let life unfold in its own rhythm. Trust that what's meant for you will never miss you, not if you keep showing up, not if you keep listening, and not if you keep growing. So take a deep breath. You don't have to control everything. You just have to trust that you're on your way exactly as you should be. Because the moment you stop gripping so tightly, that's the moment freedom begins. Stay tuned for more truth at our next episode.